The Business on RT Radio 1 with AIB. We know that your focus is on your business. That's why ours is on supporting you.
Well, with Valentine's Day approaching, we're all inundated with pictures of red hearts, rom-coms, restaurants and hotels offering up loved-up packages. But what becomes of the broken-hearted, as Jimmy Ruffin once sang? Our next guest has just the ticket. Alice Haddon is a psychologist and co-founder of the Heartbreak Hotel in the Peak District of England. Alice, you're very welcome to the programme. A retreat specifically for the broken-hearted. You must be booked out, are you?
Hi, Richard. Yeah, I mean, we have more demand than we can cater for at the moment. So, yeah, there was a stat the other day that said there were about 100 million breakups every year, which is a lot of demand.
So you've got a pretty big market. Where did the idea for the Heartbreak Hotel come about? I can see where the name came from straight away, but where did the idea behind it come from?
So I had my own private practice for about 7 years before the pandemic hit, and unfortunately at the same time as we went into lockdown, my mum died, which was not COVID related, but it afforded me, well, it put me into heartbreak for a start, but it also gave me time to think about what I had been doing professionally and just sort of breathe a bit. And what I realised is that I was a bit burnt out, actually, honestly, by having my own practice, and I was a little frustrated that I couldn't provide what I felt people really needed when they were in pain. So a 50-minute session weekly is the traditional format for therapy, which means that people come in, they've got their 50 minutes and they put themselves back together again and go back out into their life. And so I started to think about how I can use my skills differently, and also having been put into heartbreak myself, it's such a traumatic time. You feel really lost and really vulnerable, and you know what I felt that what you really needed was to be wrapped up in a blanket and taken care of and fed, and not have to make any decisions until you can kind of start to feel a bit stronger.
And it's interesting
so that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's interesting how you equate your own experience, which was about bereavement and loss, and yet, the retreat is aimed, I think, a bit more specifically at relationship breakups. But you can kind of equate those two experiences and maybe some of the emotions that people have.
I think they're really similar. I think there is a significant difference with breakup, which is that the person is still there and the person has often rejected you. So with grief, you don't have that. So my mum didn't reject me by dying. So in a way, the loss, there's a seam of loss, which is very similar, but there is an added kind of difficulty, which is that you've been abandoned or rejected and that person is still there to negotiate with if you want to. So it adds a new layer, I think, of difficulty.
And what about some of the situations that women who attend the retreat, what kind of situations have they been in or been through?
So we focus a lot on the kind of more traumatic end of betrayal, which is when there's been an infidelity, there's been cheating of some kind. Or I say we focus on that. We also just get a lot of that because I think it's a very, very hard experience. So there's lots of stories around, partners who've been, seeing prostitutes for years or addicts for years, or, we've had someone who's jilted at the altar, or they've just left with no explanation. But we do often find that even if they've just left with no explanation, there is often an explanation that materialises over time, which is that there has been somebody else. So there's a lot of infidelity showing up for the women on our retreats.
Yeah, and you focus,
and that's really traumatic.
Yeah, you focus solely on women. I mean, I can see how focusing on both might not work, but is there scope for a male equivalent?
I really think there is. I mean, I think men feel heartbreak too. And I think for me in my career at that time, I decided to focus on women and helping women. But yes, we could have in the future a wing of the Heartbreak Hotel for men. But as as you point out, I think the mixing them is a little bit problematic given the problem that we're dealing with.
It could all become something else.
Yeah. We are only a year and a half in, so we've got big plans for the future and meeting the need more widely.
As a psychologist, and you will have encountered and helped people with all kinds of different problems and adversity that they would have. Is there a sense in which we do trivialise as a society generally, whether it's men or women or whatever, that we do trivialise the kind of physical and emotional impact that relationship breakup can have?
I really think we do. I think from the field of psychology has really neglected heartbreak as an experience to address, and I think in the community it's all over in pop songs and novels and Elvis and Heartbreak Hotel, but there is still an idea of a bit like bereavement, but give it a couple of months and then plenty more fish out there. Dust yourself off and get back out there. And I think that does really underplay just how difficult it can be to lose a very significant relationship, actually, whether that's through grief or through betrayal or relationship breakdown. So, yeah, it's everywhere, but nowhere seriously, I would say.
And as a business proposition for you, it has been successful. I mean, you said that, you have a lot of interest and bookings above capacity. I mean, there's a big appetite for this.
There's a really big appetite. I mean, as a business, what we offer at the moment, which is these intensive retreats, they're quite costly to put on because it's a sort of wraparound care. So our venue is very cozy, it's very warm, it's very beautiful. It's, we have our own chef and there's lots of staff involved in delivering the program, which means that it's expensive to come onto the retreats. So I would say that what we're looking at now is how we can take our offering forward in a way that makes it more accessible to more people, so that we can meet that demand. Because I think as long as it stays in the expensive category, we can't meet the demand. So we've got to find a way of translating our intensive care into a broader audience, and we're working on that now. And
so would you consider opening up a branch in Ireland, Alice? Plenty of infidelity knocking around this island as well.
We pretty much on every retreat we run, we have someone come over from Ireland. Yes, we would. We really want to. We really want to do that, and we'd like to have a roving Heartbreak Hotel where we can go to different countries. And but yeah, Ireland is on our radar for sure.
On the radar. Alice Haddon,
on the radar.
Alice Haddon, psychologist and co-founder of the Heartbreak Hotel. Thank you very much